Welcome back to AM Northwest. It's a book series for young readers about growing up, learning your limits, and facing your fears. Here to tell us about the new novel, Monster Club, Monsters Take Manhattan, we welcome authors Darren Aronofsky, Handel, and Lance Rubin. Good to have you all with us. Let me start, though, with you, Darren, to tell me about the inspiration behind it. This is number two. Yeah. Tell me about the inspiration.
Well, it all started with me wanting to make a movie about my youth growing up in Coney Island, Brooklyn, and kind of paying homage to some of my old friends and my old schools and some of my old teachers, and adding a little magic, which was in the form of magic ink that brings monsters to life. When I was a kid, I used to draw a lot of monsters and imagine what they were like fighting each other, and I had a club with a bunch of friends, and so we just sort of built this story out of it, and Ari and I wrote a screenplay, and unfortunately we couldn't figure out a way to get it made, and then we came up with the idea to turn it into a young adult novel. Along the way, someone introduced us to Lance, who had worked in that world before, and he gave us a lot of wisdom and a lot of help on the first book. And then it came out, and a lot of people wanted to see what happened to our characters. So we got back together. We asked Lance to join the team, and the three of us came up with a brand new vision of the Monster Club defending Manhattan from Magic Inc. and the monsters.
I love it. And Lance, you're more involved this time around, right? Like you were involved first time, but more involved this time.
That's right. Yeah, the first time I was more of an advisor to these two. But the second book, like Darren's saying, there was no screenplay to serve as a roadmap. And they were like, hey, join the team and let's put our brains together and figure out what the story is. And it was a very exciting thing to get to start from scratch, figure out what these monsters and these characters were going to get up to in Manhattan.
I love it. Ari, as a scientist, which I think is so cool, as a scientist, did you add any of your scientific knowledge to this?
Well, some of the kids are little amateur artists, and some of the kids are little amateur scientists. So we got to have some fun with like figuring out how they're going to use those skills and talents to fight the monsters. So that entered into it. So there's definitely a little science to play with.
Oh, and you two, you and Darren have known each other since college, am I right? Or even before that? Worked together
since
forever?
College. It feels like forever. I would say we know each other longer than we haven't known each other.
So,
Is that true at this point?
I think so, more than half our lives.
Gosh.
So
wow.
Lance, what is it like working with two people who've known each other forever, who've worked with each other on many platitudes here?
Yes.
I mean, just really, is it like they're speaking a different language than you, and are you learning the language?
Yes, learning the language. I mean, there's certainly moments of that because they've just got this shorthand, like you're saying, they work together so much. But that said, you know, I have many friendships like that where I've collaborated with friends for a while, same thing since college or high school. So I know what that is. And, you know, I also came in as big fans of these two. So I was ready to try and get on their frequency. And they very graciously welcomed me into that frequency and onto that frequency. So we very quickly got in sync. But,
I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Darren, I do have to say, just because I have you here for a second, The Whale was so powerful. I still think about it. So I just wanted to touch on that for you. And then in your book, you dedicate the book to teachers who really touched you. Talk to me a little bit about that. And also, Mrs. Vera Fried.
Yeah. So, look, both my parents were public school teachers.
I don't know if you can see her right here in her pink convertible.
I see her. Yeah. So Mrs. Vera Fried is probably the reason I'm a writer. She was a really magical teacher at Mark Twain Junior High School in Brooklyn and Coney Island. And when I was, I guess, 12, 13, she really encouraged me to be a writer and sent me down that path. And actually, when I was in her class, I wrote a poem about Noah that ended up winning a contest and gave me a lot of confidence. And then when I made the movie Noah, I tracked her down, which I really recommend all the adults out there. If you had a great teacher, reach out to them, show them some love. They will appreciate it. So I found her. She was living actually only a few miles from my parents down in Florida.
Oh, wow.
And she pulled up still in a pink convertible, wearing all pink, with her poodle. And I asked her to be in the movie, and she plays kind of a wicked, evil, one-eyed witch who actually has a line with Russell Crowe in the movie. And it was a nice thing to give back to a teacher that gave so much to the world.
Oh, I think that's fantastic. What is the takeaway that you want kids to have when they read this book?
For me, I don't know. I think it explores that moment when everything's changing. Everything seems so stable when you're in elementary school, and then when you kind of transfer to middle school, the world suddenly gets a lot bigger, and it's a really scary moment. It happens for all of us when we go off to high school, when we go off to college, or if we get a new job. It's always a kind of a transition period, and how we hold on to who we are is just something worth exploring.
Yeah. Darren, Ari, and Lance, thank you all so much. I appreciate it. We want to tell everyone the book again is titled Monster Club, Monsters Take Manhattan. Thank you all so much. Thanks for the work you do.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you. And we'll be right back with more AM Northwest. Don't go away.